Come on. Back at class, they never saw us sit. Something you gotta let it in. Sometimes, my class will take a mind together. Right now, let's go! Yes, Generation X. Game on, yes, game on. Come on, play a contract.
As you clearly know, I'm famous for doing that every single video. Make the grade somehow. Alright, let's stop the music. Alright, hey guys. It is February the 20th. Wow. Time's gone by fast. Yeah. Last time we were on here, we were talking about, what game was that?
Last time we were
Kaijudo, okay. Well, I've gotten a lot of emails, I guess you can call it. People asking about Magic. How does it work? What's the best deck? Well, I know the new decks have just came out. I can't remember the pack name, but we're gonna go back one generation. These cards are still in circulation until the end of this year, but I think in September these cards go out of circulation, and you basically can't play with them anymore. Ugh, sad face.
Sad face. I can draw that up there.
Right. Alright, so yeah, we're both running an izzet deck. Both of our decks are a little different, a little quirky, I guess you can call it. And we don't care about the ban list to begin with. So if there are cards banned, we don't care. There are people looking in the window.
Just ignore them. Maybe they'll go away.
Alright, the best thing about an izzet deck is the instants, in my opinion. I run a shitload of instants. Alright, so we're going to start with my deck, I guess. Unless you want to start with yours.
You go through.
Alright, we'll start with my deck. Let's start with my lands. Alright, these are called basic lands. I run 10 fire basic lands. Just simple basic lands. And I run 11 water lands. Yes, for you people that noticed, it's a steam deck. Izzets are based off of fire and water. No, we're not doing Twilight decks anymore. Do a Twilight deck and you might as well be a loser.
That means you're a big fan of sparkles.
Next are my shock lands. Izzet Guildgate. This comes in tapped, but it acts as either fire or water, and I have 4 of them. Yay, how lucky was I? Now the next one, it took me a while to get, but they're worth it. Izzet Boilerworks. Alright, basically, it comes in tapped, but I must have a previous basic land on the field because that basic land comes back to my hand. But when this here is actually in play, it acts as either or a fire or a water, and it counts as 2 mana instead of 1. So it's like, yay. I don't know what else to say about it. Alright, next to my smallest amount is my sorceries. Now, a lot of people have been doing, I think you call them mill decks, forcing you to get rid of your library, which if we're talking in Yu-Gi-Oh terms, is your deck. Yeah, they've been making me do the top of my decks like 4, 10, 15, meal to my graveyard. Just so I put it in this, Reminisce. It's a 3-drop, which is actually pretty cheap for its effect. I shuffle my entire graveyard into my library. Beautiful. You just milled all my deck except for the 1 card. Play it. Haha, my deck is back, bitches. Alright. Next, this I mainly run for the draw power. Infraction and Junction. It came out in the new pack, but I like it. It has a detain ability. I'm not going to explain the abilities because, well, it would take way too long. But after it detains a creature, I get to draw a card. Alright. Now on to my creatures. Alright. This is my main guy, Giltroid. I have one of him. I wish I had more. I really do. If any of you have more, send them to me. Basically, his effect is I can tap him to do 1 damage to my opponent, and when I play an instant or a sorcery, he untaps. So I can do it over and over and over until my hand runs out. Alright, this is the king of the deck, Hypersonic Dragon. Alright, he has flying and haste, and it allows me to cast sorceries as if they were instants. Awesome! Alright, then I run 2 of the Guild Mage, Necrofix, Nevix. He basically lets me copy instants and sorceries with the same mana cost. I mainly use it for attack. It costs too much to do that. Izzet Chronologica. When an Izzet enters the battlefield, I return a sorcery from my hand to my graveyard, or when he enters the battlefield. It's an instant or a sorcery, sorry. Goblin Electromancer. I run 4 of them. He allows me to, basically, on instants and sorceries, 1 less mana cost. But there is a rumor going around about how if it only has a 1 mana cost, like electricity, you don't have to pay that mana, but you do. If it's a required fire mana or a 1 mana, you have to pay it. People think you can pay it for free, but you can't. I got stopped by the freaking guys at the tournament for doing that, and yeah, since they run with the circle, I'm sure they know what they're talking about. Shrewd Hatchling, I have him in there as a beater. He comes in with 4 negatives counters on him, but each instant sorcery, it takes off a negative counter, and his original attack is 6/6, so eventually you get him back to 6/6. Ruin Wing, whenever it's destroyed, I draw a card. Draw power. And it's a low drop. Bislicor Weird, it's a 1 mana beater, basically. It's a 1/1. Whenever I play an instant or a sorcery, it gets 1/1 counters. And you can play either a water or a fire to summon it. Doesn't matter. Alright, on to the pride and joy of my deck, and the final section of the deck. My instants. Look how big that pile is. That's a big pile. I think there's like 20 in there. Or is it 10? I really can't tell. I'm not going to count. I run 4 electricities. It just deals 1 damage to target creature. But, using it with Gilroyd's effect, you can also deal damage to your opponent. Alright. Dispel, 1 drop. Stop any instant your opponent activates. It's a faster instant than, it's one of the fastest instants. Now the greatest instant ever created in the world of Magic, in my opinion, cancel. Cancel anything your opponent does. He summons a creature, cancel. Plays an instant, cancel. Sorcery, cancel. Enchantments, cancel. It basically is a dick card, and I run 2 of them. And it is a 3 mana drop, so it's actually pretty cheap. Next is Downsize. It's a 1 mana water, and when I activate it, the target creature loses -4 on its attack power, and it has an overload cost of 3, which I could cast it for that, but I just pay it for the 1 in an instant one-time cost that makes all of the opponents, all creatures your opponent controls lose 4 on their attack power. Inheriting Fire, 3-drop fire. It basically does the same thing as Downsize, except you can do it to target creature or player, and it's only 3. Magnum Spray, 1 drop, 2 damage to the target creature. That's it. Miniskin, 1 drop, and it gives one of my creatures hexproof and 1 on their toughness, which in Yu-Gi-Oh's defense. The Izzet charm, I choose one of these effects. I could either dispel, choose one. Counter target non-creature spell unless controller pays 2. Okay. Or Izzet charm deals 2 damage to target creature, or you draw 2 cards, and then discard 2 cards. Which, I really don't understand why I have it in there now. And now that I read the effect. Whatever. Brainstorm, draw 3 cards, put 2 back on top of your deck. Blaster Quill, I tap a target creature I don't control, and it has an overload cost, so I can tap all my opponent's creatures. Alright. Thoughtfire, I draw 4 cards, discard 2. Alright, and then probably one of the stupidest cards I've ever encountered is a dual card. It's either fire or ice. Well, that's the name of the card, fire and ice. You choose one of these effects. I usually choose the blue one to draw a card and tap a target creature, but sometimes when I want to, I do the instant that deals 2 fire damage. It's upside down. Well, for you guys, it's upside down. It deals 2 damage that I can divide between either creature or player. And yes, these are the sleeves I'm using, guys. Rawr, the dragon's gonna eat you. Now on to the dragon himself, the one who is born from the dragon's serpent. Serpent.
What up, people? Okay. You already.
Do you want background music?
You already. No, what's wrong with you? That's just asking for a bit too much. Alright. Now, the thing is, yes, it's true we're both are using sort of Izzet decks, but the truth of it is that we're actually using, like, you could say half of the whole Izzet deck. Like, he's using most of the good things, I'm using, like,
the leftovers.
Yeah. So, and I decided to add...
he runs it in a way that can almost beat mine. Seriously. Well, actually, it did beat mine a few times.
Yes. Because I added some stuff that I had myself, so, you know, did little asshole things. Alright, first we're going to start off with the artifacts of this deck. Artifacts. It runs 2.
Artifacts are non-colorless, by the way, guys. For you guys that don't know. You can pay any mana to bring them out.
2 Izzet key runes. They can be, when they're out, they can be used as a fire or water.
Or you can use their other effect to make them tokens.
Yes, until the end of the turn. Anyways, I have a Sphinx Bone one. While this is out, and I cast a sorcery on instant, it puts a counter on itself, and after it does that, for every counter that it has, it deals with damage. Equal to the target player, equal to the number of counters it currently has. Then we have Izzet Signet. When this is out, it can act as both a fire and water at the same time.
Water mana, right?
Mm.
So it's basically like a 2 mana.
Yeah. Now, to my enchantments, I only have 2 of them. I have Curse of the Bloody Tome. I can enchant a target player that every time as that player's upkeep, they have to send the top 2 cards of their deck to the grave.
Which is kind of like a standby phase in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yep.
Except it's done before the draw.
Yes.
Which kind of confuses me.
And we have here Pursuit of Flight. I enchant any creature, gains 2/2, and it has the ability to tap a water and gain flying. Now then, we'll move on to...
That's the main effect.
Now we'll move on to my lands. I have extras. I have 12 mountains of basic lands, basically. I was thinking about taking out 2 so I can only run 10, but for now 12 is going to have to do, because sometimes this thing sometimes the sorcerer instant swamp, it sometimes barely gives me the mana that I need to actually do stuff.
The binder. Everybody loves the binder.
Upwards. Anyways, we have here as well 12 islands basic lands. And now to the lands that act as multicolors. We have Nivex, Area of the Firemind. This can act as any sort of mana as you want, and also has the ability to exile the top card of your library. And if it's I think it was just one. No, and if that card was an instant or sorcery, you may cast it for free without its mana cost, even if you already exiled it. Also have Reliquary Tower. This thing is so stupidly broken because sometimes when I can't bring out my stuff, it comes in handy, because you know how sometimes when you can't use your stuff, your hand gets full and you have to force to be discard. This helps. Reliquary Tower gives you no maximum hand size. You can have as many cards as you want in your deck, and it acts as any land. And I also run 3 Terramorphic Expanses. This allows me to tap it, sacrifice, to add any basic land of my choosing to my mana zone. However, it comes in tap, but it doesn't matter because I can just wait for my next turn and use it. And I'm right, Nathan. Now for my shock lands, I only run like 4 of them. Izzet Guildgate. This one just acts as like a water or fire, but it comes in tap. That's why they're called shock lands, because when you bring them out, they come in tap. A Forgotten Cave acts as a fire and has cycling. You tap a fire, discard it, draw another card in its place. Lonely Sandbar acts as water. It has the same effect as the Forgotten Cave, cycling, but you have to tap a water to discard it. And here, just because of the heck of it, because it can act like a fire sometimes, I have Highland Wield. It can be used as a fire or forest. Now to my sorceries. We have, let's see, oh yes, I have 3 Krenko's Command. When you use them, they allow you to bring out 2 one-run red goblin creature tokens.
Discard me.
I also have 2 Goblin Rallies. This allows me to basically put 4 one-run red goblin tokens. Invoke the Firemind. The reason why you can do this is because, oh yes, here's a little, I'll show you right now. Do you see up here where the mana cost is? It says needs 2 waters of fire and X. You know what the X means? As long as you pay more than 1, you can cast this along with the 2 waters and fire. Now,
do you need another Goblin Necromancer?
Choose 1, draw X cards, or invoke the Firemind deals X damage. Basically, let's say you tap 5 extras for the X. You could either choose to draw the X cards or do the X damage. Basically, since you would tap 5 extras for the colorless mana cost, you could either draw 5 cards or do 5 damage to a target creature or player. We also have Vacuum Notes. It allows me to return target creature to its owner's hand. And Wild Guess. In addition to its mana cost, I have to discard a card, but it allows me to draw 2 cards. But it's very sure it's discard, but it's still good. And
what if I should have J's?
Now for my instance, I have Fuel for the Cause. You know, like how Nathan has that cancel, it can counter pretty much anything. This does the same thing, except it proliferates afterwards.
You might have to explain what proliferate is.
Okay, proliferate. You choose any number of permanents and or players with counters on them, then give each another counter of kind already there. Basically, they have counters on them, you place another same kind of counter on it. Now, Cryomatics, very fun to use. It allows me to deal 1 damage to target creature or player, but if I use the replicate cost, I can just keep replicating over and over, and it will do more than 1 damage, and I can choose multiple targets if I want to. I also have Thunderheads. This also has a replicate effect, but its main ability is to put a 3/3 blue weird creature tokens with Defender and Flying. Very fun. Just in case I need to defend myself, I'll use that. Street Spasm. Oh yeah, by the way, I run 2 paramedics. Sorry. Here's the other one. But I didn't sort this out, I guess, somehow. Or maybe they fell out. Dang.
Whichever one.
No. Anyways, Street Spasm. Like that other one, it has an X mana cost. You do 1 fire and X. What you do is basically you deal damage, X damage to target creature who doesn't have flying and is not under your control. But you can do the overload cost, which is 2 fires and 2 X's. Basically, you'd have to do over 2 mana. So you have to do 2 fires and more than 2 others. Basically, when you do the overload cost, you do X damage to all creatures that do not have flying but are not under your control. Chandra's Fury allows me to do 4 damage to a target player and 1 damage to each creature that player controls. Turn the Tide, very fun. When I use it, creatures my opponent controls get -2, -0 until the end of the turn. That can make them weaker than my creatures and kill them when I block or something, you know. Or when they try to block me, I'll use that. The creature will be too weak, you know. Overwhelming Intellect, same thing as Cancel and Fuel for the Cause. But the thing is, its other ability is draw cards draw cards equal to that spell's converted mana cost. So yeah. Force Spike, like Cancel and Proliferate and Overwhelming Intellect, it can counter anything, except the problem is, if you play this, your opponent has the option to tap 1 of their manas to cancel it. But the way I use this is that I wait for all my opponent's mana to be tapped, so that way I can use this. They can't tap any other manas to stop it. Now, Dissipate, very fun to use. It counters target spell, like the other ones that we were just mentioning. But if that spell was countered this way, it's exiled instead of being put into the graveyard. Here we have Explosive Impact. It does 5 damage to target creature or player. Prosthetic Bolt. That's also fun to use because it deals 4 damage to target creature or player. And I look at the top 4 cards in my library. Top 4. Put one of those cards into my hand and the rest at the bottom at any order.
I used to run that, but I didn't like the bottom, put them at the bottom.
Now, the last instant is Call to Heal. This allows me to return target creature to its owner's hand, but the controller of that creature has to draw a card. So let's say there's a creature that I can't use currently because, like, say they did something that will force my creature to be tapped. You know? Like, they activate a spell, tap the creature, my creature can't block or attack that turn. I decide to use Call to Heal. I return it, I draw a card because it's my creature. And if I have enough mana, I can re-summon him and use whatever card I drew. Now then, for the creatures. My creatures recently just got literally right now, Goblin Electromancer. Whenever he's out, instant and sorcery spells you cast can be used for 1 less mana. Galvanoth, very fun. When he's out at the beginning of your upkeep, you look at the top card of your deck. If it's an instant or sorcery, you may cast it for free, ignoring its mana cost. So like say I draw my Fuel for the Cause because it's an instant. Well, actually I use its ability to reveal my top card and it's Fuel for the Cause. I can use it to counter something, you know, for free, without tapping any of my manas. Now, anyways, I also have Here, 3 Cobble Brutes. They're 4 droppers, 1 fire, 3 others. They're 5/2. Pilgrim's Eye, an artifact creature. When he comes to the battlefield, allows me to add any land I choose, basic land though, I choose to my hand. But I have to reveal it though. We also have here 2 Kiln Themes. While they're up, whenever I cast an instant or sorcery, they get +3/+0. So if I keep doing instants and sorceries during a single turn, they'll keep increasing themselves over and over again. Here we have Tenement Crasher. All he does is haste, but he's a heavy beater though, so he's 5/4. But however, he's a 6 drop, so it's very difficult to bring him out sometimes. Here we have another favorite of mine, just because he's a total dick. Gutter Snipe. Whenever he's out and I cast an instant or sorcery, I deal 2 damage to all my opponent players. Ogre Servant. When he comes out, if I use a water to cast him, he returns any target creature to its owner's hand. Very fun. We have here Steam Cord Weird. If a fire was used for his mana cost to bring him out, he deals 2 damage to target creature or player. Now for the lord of my izzet deck, Izzet the Firemind. I don't know if you guys can see him.
Look at that rarity.
Yep. The thing about him is he's very fun. He's a 4/4, but he's a 6 drop though. You need 2 fires, 2 waters, and 2 others.
And he's a red rare, which is like the highest rare.
He's a legendary creature, dragon wizard, flying, and whenever you draw a card, this guy here deals 1 damage to your opponent.
Except during the draw phase. It doesn't mention that, but that was what would I call it? Really argumented in the last tournament, and so they actually called the company to find out, and they're going to reprint the card, but it's whenever your opponent draws outside the draw phase.
Not your opponent, it's when you draw it.
Or when you draw outside your draw phase.
Basically, that's why they gave him the effect. You tap him, you draw a card, so that way you can use his ability to deal damage. And if you have something, a broken card that will untap your creatures, untap him, tap him again,
like
draw another card, do the douchebagness. Or if you have other cards that allow you to draw cards, like the instants and sorceries that I have, that have some draw power in them, you deal the damage. And currently, I guess I got another instant called Totally Lost. Look at this dude, he almost looks like Smeagol but with 1 eye. I'm being serious.
I know he kinda does.
You put target non-land permanent on top of its owner's library.
So basically, you can pick your strongest creature and put it back on your library. Ugh. Okay, my side deck. This is not really done much in Magic, but I do because I'm used to it in Yu-Gi-Oh! My side deck is a little small side deck, not many cards. But my side deck king is Jace, which he is a red rare, as you can notice. And I'm mainly using for a drop 2 effect. I pay, I don't know, I'm not really sure how this works, but I think I pay 2 mana, and I reveal the top 3 cards of my deck to my opponent. My opponent then puts it into 2 separate piles. He could put 2 in one, 1 in the one, whatever. I pick one out of one of those piles and add it to my hand. The rest of them are put at the bottom of my deck. So basically, I just drew stuff, and my opponent got to pick what my opponent got to see what I drew. It's a down effect, but it's also great when you need draw power. Talking about draw power, Sorcery of Secret. I am currently going to add her into my deck before we start the duel because of her effect. She's not only a 2/2 beater, whenever she deals damage, I draw a card. Awesome. Alright. I'm not sure if I'm going to add this one or not because it's a sorcery and I really don't like sorceries. Teleportal. His effect, I give one of my creatures a +1, and it makes them unblockable, which means my opponent cannot block with their creatures. Now that is a good thing, but at the same time it's sorcery, so I'm like, ugh, sorceries. I don't like sorceries. I have a second Inflammation of Fire in my side deck that I didn't put in my deck. I'm not going to add it. It's just there just in case I want to. Essence Backlash. It's an instant counter target spell. Creature spell. So basically, if my opponent summons a creature, I activate it. It destroys that creature and exiles it, and then my opponent takes damage equal to that creature's attack points. Yeah, that is a bitch. People usually don't like me playing it, so I don't put it in because, well, they bitch too much about it. Forbidden Weird. It's a 2-drop of any mana, basically, as long as it's fire or water. And I tap 1 fire or water, it gains a 1/1 counter. I just use it for its 4 defense. Most 2-drops are not 4 defense. They're usually like 2. Okay. Inspiration, 4-drop. I target player, draws 3 cards. So if we're doing tag team with our izzets, which we do quite a bit, and his dragon's on the field, and we need to do damage, I'll activate this to make him draw 3 cards. He does 3 damage to the player. Awesome. Trimmer's Trick. I don't think I'm pronouncing that right. Is it?
Chemist's Trick.
Chemist's Trick. But it's an instant, and basically, I target a creature I do not control. It loses 2 on its attack, and until the end turn, it must attack if able. So if I have a strong creature on the field, like my 6/6 dragon, which is pretty mean, and they only have a 4/4, I activate this, I force them to attack me, and their creature loses 2 attack points, so it makes them a 2/2. So basically their creature just gets destroyed. Way of the Thief. It's an enchantment. I'm not too fond of enchantments. I prefer instants because they're like trap cards. And as y'all know in Yu-Gi-Oh, I love my trap cards. The enchanted creature gets +2/2, and it is unblockable as long as you have a guild gate on the field. Which I have 4 guild gates in the deck, so probably I'm gonna get one out. So basically, and unblockable means your opponent cannot block, so it just goes straight through. So if I activate it on my 6/6 dragon, 6 direct every time. Able already explained for Pseudo Flight, but I side deck 4 of them. Izzet Caster. It has a flash effect, which means I can summon her at any time. And she has haste, but she has no attack points, but her defense is 3. So if it's my opponent's turn and he's attacking me and I really don't have anything on the field to defend myself, I just haste her, defend, whatever. 2 Wee Dragonauts. He's flying, and whenever I cast an instant or sorcery, he gains 1/1 until the end of the turn. Epic Experiment. This is with a red rare as well, and I will let Abel explain it since he knows these type of cards better than I do. I'll let him read that while I'm explaining my last one. Sky Games. I enchant a land. I usually enchant my own. Enchanted land has tap, which means it acts like a creature effect. Tap, and then I target a creature on my field. It gains flying until the end of the turn, and activate this ability. And you can only activate the ability when you can activate a sorcery. So during your turn, you can't do it during your opponent's turn. Sucks, but hey, my creature just gains flying, bitch. All right, and Abel. Or Serpent, sorry.
Alright, now about this card, the Epic Experiment. Basically, when you play the Water and Fire and the X cards, and the X mana cost, let's say the X part you did 5 other manas. You would exile the top 5 cards of your library. And for each instant and sorcery card that was among them that you exiled, with a mana cost of X or less, basically, because you did 5 for the X, so it has to be a converted mana cost of 5 or less, you can cast all of them for free. even though you exile them with this one's effect. Then you put all the exile cards this way that weren't cast into your graveyard.
And most of my instants are damage, so yeah, effect damage big time. Speaking of effect damage, the new deck came out for Yu-Gi-Oh, guys. We just got it. We just got the starter. It's Phoenix King, I think is what they called it.
It was Onslaught of the Fire Kings.
Onslaught of the Fire King. They consider this the Fire King. I don't know why. He doesn't look like a king to me. He just likes to look like a freaking bird. But yeah, it's a full fire deck. Yeah, fire, fire, fire. And something that really surprised me, which I thought would have never been done. Did you? Somebody shuffled it.
I didn't shuffle it.
I must have. It's not in here.
You know what?
Look for the trap. Where's the trap?
I don't know. There's one of the first ones over there. Just go very slowly.
It was right behind the kunai, or the blastwood chain. Yeah. Oh, they replanted blastwood chain. That's pretty cool. But they also brought back Nightmare Wheel. I can't find it. Oh, there it is. They've also brought back Nightmare Wheel and Call of the Haunted. So I think they're gonna unban them. Well,
Call of the Haunted was
it was semi-limited for a while there.
Yeah.
But they took Call of the Haunted completely off the list. But he's still on the list as one. You can only use one of him. But since they're reprinting it, they might allow more. Maybe. So it'd be awesome. Well, alright. Monday we will be doing a duel between our decks. And Monday, I think we'll also present our other decks. He runs a vampire deck, and I run a how do I explain it? Centaur deck, I guess you can call it.
Yeah.
Earth Giants, as I call it. I call them my Earth Giants. So yeah. So what should we do to end?
Put on a cheesy song.
Cheesy song, okay.
Or put on a cheesy moment.
Ooh. I know. Mute the sound. Use the sound. Mute. Okay. Alright, you talk to them while I get it. Talk to them about how your life is going.
Why?
I don't know.
Why would they need to know? That doesn't make any sense.
Tell them what type of a person you are, how you feel inside. Who really cares, right?
People, be amazed that I used this whole Magic the Gathering deck to his face.
Well, since that's not working, okay, it seems the whole thing froze. Don't tell me my computer is frozen. No!